Morning, everyone. It's Friday morning. Chair doesn't feel like it's in the right spot. That's better. Gosh, I have the worst glare today. I walked in here and turned the lights on and I was like, oh my god, this is too bright. Can't do this today. Took a minute to like adjust to it. We're working on this painting today. We did an underpainting last week, so we like roughed in everything. And I'm liking how it looks. I want to make a few adjustments. I already wiped the canvas down to get rid of all of the extra chalk. So where I had drawn everything last week, that's all gone. Most of it got absorbed by the paint, like as I brushed over it, and it just got erased that way. But there's a few things I want to change. Like I think this one, I think I need to bring the line up a little bit because it's not quite as deep as it's looking, and that's fine. We're going to work on it and adjust because this is just the rough draft. So I want to do a little bit of adjustments with chalk, and then I'm breaking it into pieces. And I made myself a map, and that's on my desktop, I'm realizing. That's fine. We're working on the water today, so I don't need my map. So I'm going to kind of mentally work on like just this part, and then probably next week I'm going to work on like this part back here and get that looking nice, and then this part, and then this part, and then these parts, and then this whole part here is going to kind of be one really big piece. Maybe two. Maybe I'll split this guy into his own piece. So we're going to work that way in pieces. But we're starting with the water because I think it's a nice focal point. And it's so different than everything else. So like the colors are different. The texture is different. So we're gonna work there first. And I'll probably have to refine a little bit because we're getting a reflection of this in the water. So I'll be painting that. And then once I do this, I'll probably have to just do a little bit of adjustments. And once I do this piece, I'll probably have to do the border between them a little bit. Mentally, just it'll help me get through all of it easier. Because right now I'm looking at all of it, and like when I was doing the rough draft, I was losing pieces of it. So I was like, oh, this piece is here, but like it should have been over here or something. So there's a few things that were getting a little lost, but that's why we do the rough draft. So we can start to break it up and see it. Yummy brown. I also pulled out all of my palette for this piece. So this piece, when you talk about a palette in art, you talk about it in a few ways. You have your palette, and mine's not the traditional one with the thumb hole in it. You also have like your set of colors, and that is your palette as well. And so last week we had did some testing in the sketchbook, this testing, and came up with a color scheme palette of the piece. So we have like the water here, and then we have the tree bark here in this L shape, and then we have all of the moss and everything over here. Except Jenkins, because Hooker's green we're not using. We're gonna use Jenkins for the shadow. But mainly sap green with some Jenkins, and then we're gonna get slightly yellower with Hansa and raw sienna. So those are the colors we're using for this piece, and I pulled them all out. And then as the countdown was going, I had to quickly run over to my back stock of paint and pull out like 3 of them because I'm almost out. Because I'm like, all right, here we go. Here's 1, here's 2, pulling some out of like where everything else is. And then I'm realizing that these ones are almost empty. It's like, shoot. It's a majority of the painting. It has zinc white and then the sap green. So then I had to go get backups. So now I have backups ready. We need somewhere doing a massive golden sale like you had that one time. That's not really something a place does, unfortunately. That place was going out of business. So I got super lucky. Yeah, the fair song is playing. Star Jetty says, you have a fancy schmancy glass palette. I do. I really like this because with acrylic, the paint will adhere. Like, here's the back of my palette. This was my college one actually, so I had to tape the back in case I dropped it. My professor was like, everyone needs to get a glass palette. And college me had absolutely no money and was like, okay, are you sure? And he's like, yes, all acrylic painters will need a glass palette for this class. And then he wanted us to tape the back in case we dropped them on the cement floor. But it served me well. I really like it because you can see how nice and pristine the front is. Because all I do is I spray it down with water and then I use a straight edge and scrape off the edge of it. Yeah. And I actually have adopted a few more because sometimes if I'm doing a painting, I'll put the plastic wrap over it to save the paint. And then I want to save that color for like later in the painting. There it is. So sometimes you want that. So I have another one, and this is my gray one. And gray is useful because it'll help you show what the color actually should be. It's not getting influenced by the lightness of the white palette. So I have a gray one. This was from the Mount Fuji painting, like these paints. So this is dry, and like a lot of it I can just peel off, but it's a little hard. So using the water and the straight edge helps. So then I have a gray one. Like I said, this will let me like save the paint if I need to. And then I have a second white one. Where is it? This is the second white one. So I have two. This one doesn't have tape on the back. That's how I know this one is my not college one. If I break it, I realize I have to clean it up. But it's not all over a cement floor. It's on a drop cloth. So I have 3 at this point. I probably only had one for the first year and a half I was starting on YouTube for painting. And then I bought the second white one and had that. And then eventually they started selling the gray one that's a different brand. And I was like, that would be nice to have. So then I bought the gray one. It was like how I had a really cheap easel for like a year, and that sucked. Because this one is relatively stable, but that metal one I used for a long time was not. And so I would like hold it and brace it as I was painting a lot of the time so it didn't like fall over. Someday I want to replace this one with a nicer wood one or one of the metal tube frame ones. Because my problem with this one is it's meant for standing, and so it gets really tall, but this is kind of as short as it gets. Like I can drop the shelf, sure, but there's supposed to be a piece that holds the top of the canvas so it doesn't do this when you're painting. And that doesn't get any closer. Like you can't see it, it's off the screen so much. Like this is me touching it, it's way up there. Yeah. So even if I drop this and I'm working really big, then it works, but it doesn't fit quite right. But I don't need a new palette. I have 3. I do not want one of the hand ones where you put your thumb in it. They're just, if I was standing and not having to like turn anyway, that would be different. A new easel and new palette? Nah. I want an overhead system so you guys can see me mix paint, and I would probably be fine if I had like a tripod with a camera, probably not right here, but like pointing at the palette so you could see it when I'm mixing paint. But I don't need that, that's mostly for you guys. Make an easel from PVC, how hard can it be? I think that would be too lightweight. I'd have to like fill those tubes with cement or something. All right. What am I doing? Painting the water. Let's get my reference image pulled up. Beautiful. I also need to redraw. That was the thing I wanted to do first. Cardboard easel. I use a lot of water. Like to spray things down. That would fall apart, I think. This needs sharpened. There's many things in my life I would rather have than replacing the easel. Like a screened-in porch, because I really can't use the porch out back. It is hot and in direct sun most of the day. Costco has this pergola right now that would give some shade, and it would fit out on our deck. But the money for that, I'm like, why don't we just put that towards an actual screened-in patio? And like, someday I want to replace the front door, because I really don't love the door. I want to paint. There's other things the money can go towards than an easel. This one is working just fine. Do I want a new road bike? Yeah. Do I want to go back to Japan? Yeah. So there are priorities that are not easel. All right, what should Mel spend big money on next? There's so many things. Okay, I want to adjust a couple of these lines. Like this one swoops too low. This one needs to be a bit more up, I think. I can't see that. I want the white chalk pastel instead of the gray. Like that feels better, but it does make this a lot bigger. I think it needs to swoop a little bit. Save money for kitty supplies. All right, that needs to be left alone while it dries for a second. That's fine. Let's see, over here. This stuff is harder to see way back here because it's a little blurry on my photo that I took. And I'm not going to adjust all of it, I think. I'm going to work on this section adjusting, and this because I'm painting this next. And that should help me as I start to get into that part of the painting. Alright, where was I with this? And then there's this one.
Super Soul Bros. You can just go to Super Soul Bros. Brothers, but bros.com. SuperSoulBros.com. You'll see everything. You'll see play next. You can see videos. You'll probably see videos of this particular show.
Palette cam, so it comes out of Steven's share the bank account and not yours. No, that's not how our bank accounts work. Everything goes into a pool and then we spend money what makes sense. We both agree there's like a number we can spend money on and not have to okay it with each other. But like there's a number where it's like you can't just go buy that. Shameless plug in the music. All right, now I'm going to draw the water part here. Yeah, I can see where some of my lines are not right. Like this one goes here where I drew it just now, but it's a good ½ inch in paint. Give me 5 seconds and a hammer and I can validate any purchase you want. All right, water. That line feels fine. This is not right, but that's okay. It kind of sits more close. It doesn't quite go that far. And like this rock I have turned this way, but it needs to be more this way. There's little adjustments to make here. And I think this desperately needs to come this way. And like this feels wrong completely. So let's fix that. So can you see like the lines I've drawn inside of this rock or this knob of this root system? Like up here? That's helping me figure out the shapes, because like I know this part is dark and like this part is also dark. This line needs to come down more. So it's helping me fill it in better. And I can see that I had painted to here, and then my chalk line is actually like up here. So these are the adjustments I'm talking about to fix. So if that is there, this rock needs to sit a little bit closer. Hi, I am streaming. You're not on speaker. He says hi. Are you gonna get the thing I requested from the store? Oh, okay. Oh, what, I mean, we have dinner, as in we have frozen pizza, but we did not have any other dinner plans. Not that I can think of. Okay. Unless you can think of anything.
Well,
No, you can't.
I just wanted to double check before
Okay.
I
I love you too. Bye-bye. I was at Costco yesterday. So like there's a tiny rock right here. Tiny rock. This is the one I don't like. Because it sits up here is like the point of it, and then it should slope down. Instead I made it bump up. It's not right at all. Wait, I can zoom. See what I mean? The line is here, but the paint I have bumps up to here. It's not right. I forget I have zoom. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there while I'm working on the drawing right now, and then we'll zoom in later again when I'm painting. This whole rock is just rotated wrong. Because it points here. Much better. And like this one, I need to draw in the water reflection on it. And it does this really weird thing because it gets this bubble. Like there's a bubble right here. But it's starting to look better. I love the zoom function. It's so good. And like there's a lot of little rocks up in here. Like there's one here. This rock is also very wrong. It needs to go back because it's so far down. Wait, I can do something about this. Paint marker. That might make sense later to you. Right now it makes sense to me. So this chalk line is actually where this white should be, and it's not. I do feel like this distance is quite great, and it shouldn't be quite that big, but I think it's fine. It'll work. All right, this is the last rock I want to draw in for here, and then we can start painting. Because this rock is like butted up right against this root. So it kind of starts here almost. Oh, I should also probably draw that reflection in. That one's not that bad now that I've drawn it. Okay. Hooray. Turn off zoom for a second. So that's, you can see what I was doing with the drawing when I had it zoomed in. So that was helping me, actually go back, see where my lines were not quite right. Like some of them were very far off, like between here and where the line actually is. So we're going to fix that, and I'm going to start by painting some of this under the water part first and kind of get that down. And then I'll probably move on to doing the shadows of things. And then we'll start to do the highlights and the water refinements on top. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. And luckily, we know exactly what colors we're using, thanks to the cheat sheet. So a lot of the water is going to be used here because all of like this part is that same sienna stuff. Is this in the way? Not really. I got a little table right here. As the process tends to be. Yup. So raw sienna, burnt sienna. And we do need a little bit of shadow in this, so I think I'm going to be going with burnt umber. Because we don't need any green. There's definitely no green in this. I have a little bit of ultramarine blue to make some of the shadows even deeper. I don't need any of the Hansa yellow here, because that's more of the moss parts. I think once I get into the green, though, this piece is really going to come together. I should have grabbed extra raw sienna. It's fine. I'm just gonna put little bits of all of these onto the palette and kind of just paint this loosely without mixing too much. A few of these need crimped. If you're gonna get one of these, don't get a plastic one. They just break. There's 3 tools I really like that I recommend. This is one of them. This is why I needed to get a second backup tube of zinc. It's this thing, the tube wringer. Paint tube goes in between these little cogs, and then you close it, and then you just crimp it, and it pushes all of your paint to the front. Sometimes I use it on my toothpaste tube. And then the other tool I really like is this thing. This is, what does Golden call it? It just says Golden on it. It's their tube opener. So you can put it on your paint tube because there's 4 like holes on it. There's like 4 spots to put tubes, and then each of their tubes fits a different one, and then you can just like squeeze and open. The main one is for their new style tubes that are more like cogs, and then the second one is for these tubes, and then the third one is for their tiny tubes, which I don't have any of, and then the tiniest one is for their watercolor tubes. I have a little key looking tool that does the same for toothpaste. I have one of those somewhere. Is it in this? Nope. Somewhere I have one of those. I tried to use it on my tubes and it did not work as well as I wanted it to. Somewhere I have one. Yeah, it looks like a little key. It kind of looks like this piece, and then it's like just a line. So what you do is you feed this around like that part, and then you can like twist it up like this, and then it holds the tube like that. Will the Yinmin tube work for the tiny cap? Where's my Yinmin tube? Did I put you in blue or did I put you in special spot? Where'd Yinmin go? Yinmin blue? Where did I put you? Where is it? Huh, that's concerning. It's not far. It's not like anyone else in the house uses paint. It's not like anyone else in the house comes into the studio. Huh. It did not go far. It is somewhere. It's so small, I didn't want it to get crushed, so I put it somewhere. I just don't know where I put it. I know it's like in here. Oh no, we've lost the $60 paint tube. It's not lost. My studio is actually super organized. Like, it's not a mess. Everything has a house and is labeled and organized by color and location and works really good. I don't have like stuff. And I have no reason to move said tube out of the studio, so it is in the studio. But that is like the tiny little tube that is somewhere. All right, we're painting. I'm putting little bits of color. open, please? No? There we go. Sienna. The tube keys. I just thought I had one on my cart. They are in the storage. How much paint do you think you've accidentally ingested? None. I am very careful about washing my hands. For the most part, I only have water bottles with caps on them. So it was all intentional. No, don't do that either. Like I saw, I want to say it was an Instagram reel of an artist like holding a cup and then looking at his work and then accidentally taking a drink and then realizing it's paint water. I don't really have that problem. Food coloring though, that's different. What else did I need? Ultramarine. I also treat my paint wastewater so it doesn't go down the drain. All right, this brush seems like a good brush. What else do I want? Get this angle brush. You're the same size. And I can't remember the name of you. Mop? You might be a mop. It shouldn't have lead in it. No, none of my paints have lead. Lead white has not been around since I've been painting. Was it Steven who accidentally or almost accidentally ingested paint? That was tempera paint. That was like the kind of paint you give kindergartners. I did not want the acrylic drying out while we were trying to do all that crazy stuff and ruining paintbrushes. I did not trust that would not ruin stuff, so we used tempera. All right, I'm starting with some of the darker colors here. Oh, we can do the zoom. So I'm going to take my burnt umber and some glazing liquid. And we're going to start darkening some of these shadows. And then we're going to work our way into all of our light colors. So the problem with this is it's already as dark as I've been painting, so we need to add some of the ultramarine blue to make it darker. And I'm realizing that when I paint this way, where I'm not mixing up colors and then painting with them, and I just have like puddles of, here, I can show you. Nope, not that one. There we go. When I have my colors across the top there, this is the glazing liquid, and I like mix them to make whatever I'm currently working with. All of these dry out. So we're going to cover them up so they don't dry out, because like I don't need the raw sienna yet. Okay, back to this. So I'm just going to darken all of the areas that are dark. And I should probably start over here, because I painted a little bit right there and now my hand is going to get in it. Why do paint makers always burn the umber and sienna? Is there a light setting on their toaster? The interesting thing is when you have them, like here's both siennas. The raw is lighter and then burnt is like darker and oranger. But umber, I normally don't use raw umber. I feel like umber goes the opposite. So when you have raw umber and burnt umber, the raw is darker and the burnt is like browner and gets warmer. Medium rare sienna. It's deliberately obtuse. Now, this part of this tree bark is the same darkness as it is here because it's the reflection of it. But I don't want to lose this line, so we're going to leave it alone until I paint that later. So we have this reflection, and then we have just like hints in here of little tiny stones. And I drew a couple of the larger ones in, so I could start to see them. And I'm trying to avoid using black paint on this. This is just simply burnt umber and blue. We'll see if I keep that up. If I have to use black to darken it, like on the shadows where if I really want something to be dark, I can. Nope, I hit it again. Hi, bye. I feel like the buttons should work, because right now it's a toggle on and off. and the other buttons are just a back and forth. The previous one? I can't go back. I don't have a back button. I only have a next button. There are some songs he did in GarageBand for various vlogs over the years. So sometimes those pop up. It said waiting, that was probably one of them. We also have this bubble.
Got yourself something funky.
I think this part needs a little bit more blue so it's even deeper of a shadow. This is coming together, even though it looks like a huge mess. We trust the process. We try to. We really, really try to. We are not always successful at trusting the process. All right, let's do a quick zoom. So this part needs work yet. I've kind of only worked to about here and then down. Little zoom is a treat. You can see a little bit of detail. I think that needs to be darker. And one of the things that's happening is I'm using the glazing liquid, so it's not as opaque as I need it to be to make something truly dark, especially where I've already painted some of the water. So I just need to mix up a little bit more paint so it's more opaque and really fills that spot in. Textury paint dab technique in play? Yeah, for sure. And it's going to, once I start adding the other colors in, it's going to really start to show up. I did use a little bit of black paint on a marker there to fill that spot in. All right, there's all the dark parts. And all of these little dots that look really weird right now and kind of random will start to make more sense as I add in other colors. Now it's a question of what do I want to paint next? What color? So I brought in the shadows. There's still too much of the rough draft of the zinc white to bring in highlights so I can see those. So we have to kind of work not that direction. So what I think makes most sense from a building standpoint is to work on everything that's not stone in the water. So like this silt pebbly mix that's under the water, and then like this area here, I think that makes most sense next. Because that'll also let me finish like this bigger rock, the underwater part of this rock. Hold up, this one needs to be painted in. Yeah, that's better. And it's warmer here and yellower here. And there's a few bits of yellow in here, but it's mostly burnt sienna. So I think I'm just going to start with some burnt sienna. God. We can go back to Zoom. Garages are 16 on this channel, isn't it? It's so loud. So loud. I don't love this right now, but that's okay. Things will start to change as we bring other things in. Because it gets yellower right here, so once I move on to the yellow, it will be fine. I do want a little bit of this here with the reddish color, but the chalk was just not working. It was blending in and making it lighter because of the pigment of the chalk. And we are getting into the where it gets yellower territory. All right, I think that's warm enough. So now we can start to work into some of the raw sienna. I should move back over here. Not all of these are as yellow as I'm making them, so I should probably tone it down and make it slightly less yellow. I almost wish it could zoom in further. I think I need to mix up something less saturated and do a little bit of detail after I finish doing the raw sienna, the yellow here. Because I feel like I'm missing that in my colors. Because right now it's just kind of like yellow and red, and it's not how it should be.
Do you care for the red sauce or the? I'll take it if you don't want it.
Yeah, I need something grayish. But as long as I stay with the colors I have on my palette, they should all harmonize, and the whole painting should be pretty harmonious. Just got blue all over my hand. There's parts of it I like that are happening right, and there's parts of it that will need more. But that's the way it always goes with the painting. So right now I'm feeling like I need something between the color I'm currently working with and the shadow color. So I'm just going to add more of that shadow color to this. And that should work out just fine. I think I need a little bit more though. Or I could use this and then come back in. No, I think I need more. Hi, Kit. Says it's a lovely little puddle. We're getting detail in there. Starting to see stuff. I should probably go back to this at some point soon. But right now I'm trying to work through making this look normal. Even with the subdued colors, the puddle is an oasis of vibrancy. I think that's how it's going to go, because this is going to be complete, hopefully today. And then next week, like, this will be complete. So it's going to, like, be giant puzzle pieces. Gotta be careful with the saturation when the green goes in because it could overpower the softness. That's why I'm working with Sap Green and Jenkins already instead of Phthalo. I think Phthalo would destroy this. We have a 35-month resub from Mr. Viperfang. Hi, good morning. Aggregated Molecule says, but you're awesome with color, so I know it's going to be amazing. Thank you. I'm looking forward to adding the green because all of this feels very empty right now. I unfortunately think I need to go back into my shadow color. And also like my highlight color. This part is really funky. Alright, I did lose a bit of my shadows, but now I can see where they should be. Let's do another zoom in as a treat. This reflection is just really rough right now, but everything else is making it look good. Which is fun, I like that. I need a little bit more pigment because I used way too much glazing liquid. So like this rock needs to get trimmed. I can't wait to step away from this today for like an hour and then come back and look at it at like 3 p.m. and be like, oh my god, everything looks so bad. Alternatively, you could say, oh my god, it looks so good. I could. My palette is really drying out because I'm working so small with such little paint. I'm getting a glare. I think it's time to go back to a little bit of highlights. I think I need to go a little bit lighter on a couple of these. Because this part got super dark and it shouldn't be quite this dark. I think that helped. All right, I'm gonna do a zoom. Which ones bother me? There's two. There they are. Those two did. Some of them felt a little pointy. All right, next, I want to, I think paint the rocks, except the big one, because I think the big one is actually part of the, tree bark, this guy. But like this is a rock because it's like super slick. And this is a rock I also need to bring in this yet. This is a rock, but this and this definitely feel like part of the roots. So I want to paint those, and I want to paint this. So let's work on that. I think I'm going to finish this first because, no, I shouldn't do that because it's the same as this, so I can do them at the same time. So I'm going to mix up a grayish color. Oh, that's very blue. More brown. And even more brown because it's kind of purple. I'm just mixing up a few versions of this. And I probably want a smaller brush, so I'm gonna also grab one of them. Maybe this filbert. So I'm going to start building like the actual rock part now. I'm starting by just doing like a basic layer of it. Because I also need to cover up where the lines were wrong from before. Let's see. We also have this rock. There's kind of only 3. It's this one, and this one. And then I'm just going to kind of rotate between each three and start to fill in those details. My palette is drying out. It's cold, so that means the heat is on and everything dries faster, which is frustrating. This song just pops up so much. Now I'm just going to work lighter and bring in some of the highlights. Bless you. I should have probably rotated through my colors. Back to this rock.
Robert.
I don't like this rock, Robert.
It's pissing me off. Looks good now.
Thank you. Now this one. There's a lot of reflections because like this rock, and this one have like water on the tops of them. So there's a lot of water to work with and highlights. And there's like two distinct trees sitting right here. It's a little frustrating. So we're gonna paint those in. This is the bubble. Do you see the trees? Like this is a tree and then this is a tree in the reflection. That's what I'm trying to paint right now. Mr. Deathkill says, oh, you're doing that detailed. Good lord. Yeah. We're gonna leave that one alone for a second, and we're gonna move back to this one. Jetchet says, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna finish today. It'd be nice if I get the rocks done, and then... I don't know yet. We'll see where I get. Radio Jet says you could, if you wanted to, and had the energy. Stream until we can raid Steven's channel shortly before you go live there. What are we at? We're over 2 hours. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish these 3 rocks. And then I don't know. That might be it, because I'm hungry. Marathon painting day. It is kind of crummy outside. I also have a planned phone call with my stepmom today. I may need to bring in pure titanium white at some point. I don't think this is getting bright enough. The zinc is. Zinc is quite transparent as it is. Which is working in my favor, but also not completely. But like, see how dim this got? It's like not as bright white as this, and it should be. And like this is bright. So I think that's part of the zinc problem. It's just not bright enough. All right, now vertical rock. I'm pretty sure it rained this day when we were in Japan. I shouldn't paint that. It's still wet, so it's just blending in. That bubble does look weird. I don't know what to do about that yet. Maybe it'll fix itself in time, or next painting stream I'll feel different about it. Don't know. Leaving it for now. What else? Back to this one. I think it's too big. I think that's the problem. So I'm gonna try and make it slightly less big. The other thing I can do is just get rid of that bubble. Because it's just confusing. I think we will. Love a good creative liberty. Exactly. It's exactly what we're doing. It's easier to do it now. This painting is incredibly moody. So the contrast is incredibly high. So even the tree bark is going to get some of the sink white. And knowing myself, we may end up just doing a big wash over it like we've done with a few prior paintings, just to tone some of that down a little bit, because I tend to paint it a bit too contrasty. But I think this is looking good. So let's do a zoom out. Because right now it's the brightest part of the painting. And that's okay. Because it will get brighter. Like, I'm looking at this part and this part on the photo, and it's quite bright here too. Because it had rained that day, so everything was wet. So it's all going to get a lot more contrast to it. I didn't want to push the underpainting too far because then it's difficult. And there are more reflections in the water, like right here. Gets a little bit more of zinc white, kind of like I had put it here. And then this area does, but we're leaving it for now. Because I gotta do that with this too, underneath it. But I don't want to do it yet. But this is probably a good spot to wrap it up if I'm gonna wrap it up for today. Let's do one more zoom for fun. Look at it. So all of this is done, all the underwater parts, and then like over here. These guys aren't done. This is not done for the water, but the rocks are basically done. When Steven saw it last week, we were talking about it, and he's like, you could keep this loose. And he's like, but you could also paint it more like the lantern piece, and it would be really detailed and really nice, and you would be very happy with it. And I was like, I know, that's where I'm at. So anyway, we're going detailed. So I'm just scraping all my extra paint because it's going to be dry by next time. And if we have to paint some goblin hours for fun, or like a different day for fun, we can always do that. All right, let's talk about what's coming up. Painting sold, so that's not up anymore. Tonight on Steven's channel, also I could do this, we are streaming Tome. been very fun. You take pictures. I'm excited to see what happens, like, at the end, because so far it's been like, go to area, take photos, fulfill quests that people have. She said details. Now I'm hyped. That means this painting's gonna take a while. I hope you're all ready, and it's gonna be a lot of me sitting there doing tiny work. Oh, you get to pet animals in Tome? Yeah. Monday night is gonna be more Ghost of Yote. And that's been very fun. We have not much non-plot things left to do in the area we're in. So, look forward to a few non-plot things, but then we'll get into the plot this time. For real. Maybe. Next week, all streams are supposed to be normal whatever. So, tune into those. There'll be breakfast stream. There'll be a Wednesday, whatever Steven is going to be playing. And then next Friday, we're going to continue this. We'll definitely finish the puddle next week. And then maybe we'll even get up into this part. We just want more hats and Ghost of Yote. More hats. Hades? Yeah, I believe there's supposed to be Hades Sunday. I have a big bike ride planned because it's supposed to be really, really nice out. And Purple Bike Friend is training for a thing. And I stupidly promised that I would train with him. So I think we have a group of like 7 going. He needs to train for doing hills and climbs because he's going on a trip that has a lot of that. And he's like, you promised. And I was like, I did. Why'd I do that? But it's like the first really nice weekend in a long time. So everyone is very excited to go for a very long bike ride. Maybe get lunch somewhere. I thought about doing a picnic, but I have nowhere to put food on my bike except like a protein bar. And that's not any fun. So I think we're going to do a metrics entry. I think that's the plan. Come to Arkansas, we got plenty of them. I hear Bentonville's nice. I was just watching a video on, I want to say it was a hotel in Bentonville that was like set up for cyclists and run by cyclists, and there's like bike washing stations and like places to put your bike in your room. It sounded really cool. One of my friends did just go to Bentonville this past year on a bike trip to do a bunch of gravel. That's where we're at, super bike friendly. Yeah. I didn't know that about Bentonville till like 2 days ago. So, neat. We are talking about doing some sort of bike trip as a group. But it may just be up to like the CNL or something. I don't know. We're figuring that out. Bentonville's very nice. It's the origin of Walmart and there's lots of them. My dad used to work for Walmart district. Not like a, I mean, he did work for a store, but he kind of worked his way up to district. And then before he retired, he was part of Walmart warehouse. I'm in Austin, don't bother. We hate bikes and people who walk. You guys have a cool downtown, right? Isn't there like a little river thing? But C&O is like easy to get to on Amtrak from Raleigh. Texas, that's also why there's so many bike trails and facilities. One of the Waltons really likes biking and put his money effort into making Bentonville a bike haven. That, I didn't know. Awesome. I've never been to Arkansas. I've never had a reason to go. So like, that's a great idea. I will bring it up with the group. We have a girls' bike group, and we're gonna get matching outfits. Sorry, it's gonna be bike time for a second. And, anyway, we have like 60 people in the girls' group, which is great. I love that. That's okay, we like bike talk. Last night I got a list of bike tools I should be buying, and I was like, didn't think about that one. It's always bike time. It's like the pink ladies in Greece. I wanted to go that route when we were naming ourselves. I was like trying to come up with things that related to pink ladies or like cycling or crank, because like you have a crank arm and then your pedal goes on the crank arm and that's what turns. They're also building a mountain bike park in my city. I feel like I just read about that and I want to say Cincinnati's doing one too, but I don't know if it was Cincinnati. There's also a trail we were talking about through the area where, what's it called? Steven and I went there. Colonial Williamsburg. There's a bike trail that goes like through that area and it's like 50 out and then 50 back. And there's like a bunch of vineyards in that area. We talked about that as a group too. Some of us are looking at the 5 Boroughs ride through New York. Not this year because it's too close. Sappy says, yep, I know that one. I was supposed to go to Richmond tomorrow to do a bike ride, like a race. And the person I was going with, we were like, how do we feel about that? Because we haven't really ridden in a month and we're like out of shape. And he's like, not good. And I'm like, yeah, me either. So we decided to cancel that. So we're not doing that anymore. Instead, we're going to ride here where it's not a race. Yeah. When it's been snowy and freezing cold for a month and then suddenly you have to go do a race. It was actually canceled. It was supposed to be like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. We're not prepared for that. Don't feel confident in my racing abilities in March. That was terrifying. And on that note, I need to go eat something and then I'm gonna talk to Rhonda for a bit. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. Make sure you tune in later for Tome on Steven's channel. Next Friday, we will continue this. I expect it to keep being just as detailed, so that's fun and exciting. I do like doing detail. And once this is done, you'll kind of get the vibe of how the rest of it's going to go, I think. So it's very exciting to me. All right, have a good Friday. Tune in tonight, and I will see you all there.